Thank you for that. Is it Eisha Mishum Chitzai or Eisha Mishum Chitzav? I think in yeshivas they say Chitzai, but the art scroll, as far as I remember, is Chitzav. No?
It's a difference between singular and plural. It doesn't really matter. Chitzav is plural. Chitzai is singular.
What do you mean? Sometimes it's one way and sometimes it's another?
No, they both mean, well, one means arrow, one means arrows. Either way, it's the same point. It's koichai.
No, but I'm saying the standard is Eisha Mishum Chitzai or Chitzav.
Yeah, Chitzai. It's just harder to say, so they say Chitzav.
That really? I don't know if I buy that. I'm saying. Okay. Anyways, the shaila is fire considered like?
Where are you starting from? Sorry.
Toshima, middle of the Amr. We started already, Naftali.
No, come on. It was a second ago.
Half days on the days.
I was here.
Right smack in the middle of the daf. Toshima. Yeah. So again, Eisha Mishum Chitza is that we look at the fires as if it's no different halachically than your arrow. Right? And even if you started the fire just keeps shooting down. And yeah. Then you have Eisha Mishum Mamayna, which means that the fire is no different than your property. Right? Meaning somebody comes and takes your property, so then they'll be chayav. It has nothing to do with you. Okay, so the Gemara is asking different kashas back and forth. So here, we want to ask another kasha. And we had this a while ago. Somebody sends a fire, and but the yada and cotton, which is obviously an irresponsible thing to do. Potter midinei adam, chayav midinei shemayim. So he's potter from dinei adam, and chayav midinei shemayim, meaning heaven will, shemayim will take care of him. Right? So bishlam l'madam eishim mishum chitzav. If we say eishim mishum chitzav, that the fire is your arrow, chitzav the chereshu. So then whose arrow is it? It's the arrow that belongs to the shaita. Right? So therefore it makes sense that you're potter, because the shaita took your arrow and shot it, right? But if it's the Eisha is mom and ilu masa shayra l'cheir shayt v'kan hachinami d'lay mechayev, if a guy handed over his shor, to a cheirish and a shayt or a cotton, would he not be chayev because he gave it to his
It's the Yaakov Stein. Oh.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Well, there we go. All right. So even must have showed the shayt v'kan hachanami d'lay mechayev. Would he not be chayev? Other chayev, right? So why should you not be chayev for fire? Right. So Itmar Allah Amarish Lakish Mishmei Dechizki Loishon Masalek Chelas V'Liba. Right. We had said that when are we saying that you're not chayev? That's when you didn't give him fire. You gave him a coal, and he blew on the coal, and he made the fire. So you didn't give him a fire. You gave him a coal. You gave him the wherewithal to do it, right? But if you give him a kid or a shaita or a cheirish, a fire, then you're going to be chayev. My timer, bari hazeka. Now, bari here doesn't mean like it's clear. Bari hazeka means it's vadai. It's vadai going to do damage. You give fire to somebody who's irresponsible, it's going to do damage. Yochanan says, even if you give him a flame, an actual flame, is potter kasavar tzavsa decheresh kagarim. He says because it's not you gave him a fire, fine, you gave him a flame, but he's not. He still has to do something to. He still has to do something to make it go, right? Even if you actually give him a flame. So when would you be chayiv? You're not chayiv until you actually give the shaita. We'll just call it shaita, wood, like kindling. What do you call it? Kindling. You give him the fire, with the kindling and all the equipment for him to be able to make a fire. That's when you'd be chayiv. So basically, the Gemara is answering Erachanam. If you give him a coal, you're going to be potter. If you give him a flame, you will be chayiv. Fine. So Omar Rava, Kro Masnisim Saile Rabbi Yochanan. A pasuk and a brisa are a proof to Rabbi Yochanan. Kro Dechsiv Kiseitze Eish. It says when a fire goes out and does damage. Teitze Me'atzma goes out by itself. Yishalim Hamavidus Aveira, and he pays the one who made the fire is going to have to pay. Shmamina Esha Mishum Chitzav. So Esha is Mishum Chitzav. Right? Meaning, because again, the first pasuk says when a fire goes out. Then it says who's paying? Yishalim Hamavidus Aveira. Right? So it sounds like the guy who started the fire is chayav. Right? So since the Torah seemed to have changed the lashon, because it said kiseitze eish, that it went out by itself, meaning you lit a cigarette and you threw a cigarette on the floor, and then the cigarette went off and made a fire. Right? Then it says you, which means that it was how do you say it? It wasn't direct. It was indirect, meaning the fire started one place and then it spread. But then when it says Yishalim HaMaveres Aveira, then the Maveres Aveira has to pay. So it sounds like you actually lit it. So Shmamina Eshem Mishum Chitza. So that's the pasuk. Masnisa, the brisa, the Tanya Pasach HaKasav. The pasuk starts with, now we start today's daf. V'nizkei Mamayna. It said the pasuk starts off with the damage of his money, which Rashi says because it says Kiseitze Eish, which sounds like the fire went up by itself. V'sayim V'nizkei Gufay. And it sounds like in the end it's Niskei Gufay Lamelach Eisha Mishum Chitza, who's Eisha Mishum Chitza, which is essentially the same raya, just once it's a brisa, once it's us saying Pshan and the Psukim, and once it's a brisa. Yeah, so basically it sounds like the Gemara seems to be ending off that Eisha is Mishum Chitza. Right? So Omar Rava, Kasha Leila Abaya. Right, Rava said that Abaya had a kasha, which is tam interesting that Rav is saying over a kasha from Abaye, right? Yeah. So, yeah. So Amar Rav kasha le'Abaye Amanda Eisha Mishum Chitza. According to the Amanda, it says that fire is an arrow taman be'esh. The Pater Rachmana Heichi Mishkachas Lo. How do you find the case of Taman Be'esh? Right? We also had this before, that Taman Be'esh, even though the main sugi is later on, there's a special din in the Torah based on psukim, right? All these damages are based on psukim. The halachas, most of them. So if you have a pile of grain, and under the grain, somebody left his watch, and you burn down the grain, and that grain went and burned the guy's watch. So that's potter, tom and beige. That's what it's called. If something gets hidden under the thing, you are potter on that. So if you hold Eisha is mishum chitzu, like it's an arrow, why are you potter from tom and beige? Right? Meaning, it's really you need Tosfos of this. So because the Tosfos says that if you say that the Eisha is mishum mamayna, there's no question, there's no shiloh that you potter. Right? Even though normal Keren, Shane, whatever, there's no such thing as Taman. But for whatever reason, the Torah was said by Taman when your property damages. So then anything hidden by fire is potter. But by a person, when a person does damage, there's no difference. Right?
Well, a person that's come near the rabbin, I think I'm saying the right thing.
No, I'm getting that. Just before we get to come with the rabbin, right? Well, that we already did, but no, nothing to do with what coming with the rabbin now. What?
It's the same thing. He's high for the.
It's all.
Maybe I'm saying the wrong thing. Maybe coming to rabbin is you're putter for the cheaper thing, high for the more expensive thing, right?
Right. Yes. No, but
so
we're saying
you're chayiv if it's chitza,
No,
you're
not
chayiv
with
for the.
payments.
You're chayiv for the
When it comes
gut
to
thing.
payment,
Thing
there's
hidden.
no Kamle b'drabamine.
No, that's one damage, I think.
Kamle b'drabamine is when there's payment and malchus, or payment and misa, or malchus and misa. two different kinds of punishment. He gets the stronger
I'm
one.
just saying
If
where
there's
it can
two
come
payments,
from. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm saying where it can come from if you say Esha B'Shem Chitza. Just so you say a person has Kumne Ravile, that concept where he's only Chai of one thing, not the other. So Tum comes under that same category, same concept.
no.
Why? What's one thing have to do with the other?
You understand it where it's by Mammon.
Yeah, but Naftali, if a guy damages, if he hits a guy's car, right, and he
And
damages
he killed him.
car, nobody killed him, but he damages
That's not the
car,
case.
and inside the car, he also damages the guy's watch. He's gonna. That's not Kamma with the Rami. That's one big Maisa damaging, as far as I know. Here it's a special din, Taman be'eshes potter. So if Taman be'eshes potter, so we know we have Arba Avos Nezikim. You have Shor, Bar, Mabe, Hebe, whatever, Aish. That's all one moment. So Mamela, when it's Mammon, it's your property damaging. So then you're potter when it's hidden in the fire. But by a human, there's no such thing, right? If a human goes and destroys a guy's pile of grain, and under there is a watch, right? He's going to be chayiv, right? If you shoot an arrow in a guy's pile of grain, right, and inside the grain is a watch, and you break that watch, you're going to be chayiv, right? So if you say Eishem is meshum chitza, so then how do you ever have the Taman Beish's mammon?
I think I have where Naftali is coming from. If Kamei B'Dravine is from Kedei Rishasli, Rish Achas at Mechayve, then so long as we can split it into two different haziks, two different Maisa hazik, and you could say Kedei Rishasli. You only Mechayve for one of the Maisa. So Talmud, maybe we can split into two Maisa haziks, the one that's apparent and the one that's hidden.
Okay, so yeah, but that. Okay, but I'm not so sure that that's how it goes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway.
Kedei Rishas is only by have Lavin. There's a Risha Achas. So you know, Kedei Rishas is only applied when you have.
Right, we know that, this is true, but the point is that you can split it into two things. Anytime I can split it into two things, maybe I can learn Kedei Rishasa.
Right.
What is
Anyway,
sorry? What does Taman mean? The word itself.
Hidden.
Hidden.
Hidden. Yeah. Meaning it's hiding under the guy's pile, right? So since there's a special dispensation, I guess. If fire does damage on something that's hidden, then it's not a problem. Anyway, so
it has to be also unexpected. If people normally hide things there, then you know it's there. You can't say it's hidden.
Right, meaning you burn a guy's house down and you also burn his TV, right? A TV belongs in a house, even though you couldn't see the TV, you didn't know you were burning the TV, right? Yeah, but anyways, so v'nichale. So why did he say pshat? 4 lines down from the top. V'nichale kagoin shenaflu deleka la'oiseh chotzer. It's talking about where a fire broke out in the guy's chotzer. But naflu geder shaloi machmas teleka. And it's a very important point. The fence broke down between his in a guy's yard. He's making a campfire. He smoked a cigarette and he flicked it onto the floor, and the grass went on fire. Then, this is like out of the cartoons. Then the neighbor's fence fell down, but not because of the fire. Because if it fell down because of the fire, then the whole thing is just his arrow, right? If you say Shem Shim Chitza, but no, what happened was the fence happened to have fallen down. Not because of the fire. Then then it went then the fire went and traveled. The hasam kaluloi chitzod. His arrow was done with. Meaning, if there would have been a fence, I don't know what this fence is made out of that it would have prevented the fire from spreading. But I guess maybe it's a metal fence. I don't know. Right, or cement fence. I guess maybe it's rocks, right? But back then they used their fences with rocks, right? So maybe that fence would prevent the fire to go. So since the fire would have stopped by the fence, now the fence fell down. So therefore it would have gotten. So therefore the arrow stopped. So therefore that would be a case if the fire then went onto the neighbor's yard. It's considered a new fire, so you'd be liable for the fire, but not its arrow. So the Gemara says, okay, but then the obvious question is, so if that's the case, even the what's open shouldn't be chayiv, right? I mean, he made a fire in his yard. The fence fell down. It's not his fault that the fence fell down and therefore the fire spread. So why is he chayiv even on any of the eish, right? Ella. So then the Gemara says Ella. Now we know Ella is a complete change from before. Right, so Ella Lamande Isle Mishum Chitzav Isle Nami Mishum Amayna. This is a real change. And the question is, I mean, in the Havamina, what was the Gemara thinking? Basically, the Gemara is saying that if you hold Esha Mishum Chitza, you hold both. Meaning everybody says Esha is Mishum Amayna. Right? There's the shita that says Esha Mishum Chitza says it in addition to Esha Mishum Mammon. Meaning, so it meets all the qualifications of Mammon, of the fire meets any of the qualifications, just like a shar, bar, teeth, feet, whatever. Right? And in addition to that, if l'chumra, if it also comes out for chitzav, so then we're going to be more machmer.
1 second. So why is a shalach a beer biat chereshayt of a cotton potter? When you read that, you said if you give your shar over mamoinai, you would be chayav.
Right. So there we said it's only. Now, we said potter only because you gave over a coal. If you talk.
We said Eisha Mitzvah Chitza. That was going for Eisha Mitzvah Chitza.
Right, but then we answered it that it's talking about where you gave him a fire. I'm sorry, you gave him a coal. And if you gave him a fire, you'd be chayiv.
And a coal is not considered a
coal. It's not mammon and it's not arrow. Right?
Okay.
I think so.
It doesn't matter if it is. But once I give him a coal, I can say that it's unexpected for him to start a fire. If it's unexpected for him to start a fire, then it's not my problem, even if it is mammon amazik.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, so then the Gemara says, what was the case? He was supposed to build a fence, but he didn't build a fence. Because that's considered like his shar, and he didn't build a fence, or he didn't close the door in front of the shar.
This is while the fire is going, he should have put back up the fence?
No. There was never a fence there. Right? I think. Or a fence fell down, but he should have put it back up. Yeah, I don't think it means he built it after the fire broke out. I think he just was supposed to rebuild the fence, and he did it. Right? So it's no different than a shor, right? If the door of your barn falls down, and now your shor could get out, and you don't build up the fence, so then you're going to be chayiv, right? Because you didn't watch it properly. So the same thing here, all right? So Mamela, here you are chayiv, even though it's not chitzav, but it's still going to be mammon, right? Fine. So then the Gemara asks a little bit of a confusing question. So according to the Mandama, that says that arrow, if you hold it, your fire is because of arrow. It's also mammon. So then my benayu, what's the difference between the shitas? Meaning, if he's always saying that you're going to be chayiv out mammon, and even in the case it's not mammon, you're still going to be chayiv out arrow. So what's a nafkamina? Now the obvious nafkamina would be in the case where there's only chitzav and not mammon, right? And then which case do we would say there's a nafkamina, right? But here we're talking about in a case where there is mammon and chitzav. What's the difference? What's the difference in their opinions? We'll see from the teretz. From the teretz, it gets clear what we're saying. So the teretz says the difference in them is l'chayve ba'arba dvarim. to chayiv 4 things. Right? We know when a human does damage, he's chayiv to pay nezek. That's for any damage, even if your property damages. But then you have tsar, ripui, sheves, and boishes. You have to pay the pain. You have to pay the unemployment, the embarrassment, and the medical bills. That you don't have to pay if your ox scores, right? Or your bar damages. That's only for humans. So if you say Eisha Mishum Chitza, then you have then you're going to be chayiv on all 4 because it's like the human did it. If you say it's mamaynoi, then it's not going to be a problem. Yeah. Okay. So then that's the way we that's the maskonas ha Gemara. Fine. So then the Gemara says in the last case in the Mishnah, I think it's the last case in the Mishnah. So he said if the animal goes and he takes the coal, whatever the cake that has coals on it, and he puts it down on a pile of grain, and then it burns the grain. So he said he's chayiv nezek sholem on the cake, and he's chayiv chatzi nezek on the grain. So Gemara asks, man chayiv. When we say he's chayiv, who's chayiv? So we say Baal Kelev, the owner of the dog is chayiv, right? The owner of the dog is the one that took the coal and put it down onto the grain and burned it down. So Gemara says, okay, well, v'lchayiv nami Baal Kelev. So why aren't we mechayiv the guy that owns the coal? Meaning he's irresponsible. How'd the dog get to his coal? Right, coal or whatever, cake, whatever you want to call this this food that had coals on it. Right? How did the dog get to it? If the dog got to it, that means it's irresponsible on his end. So Gemara says,
if the dog comes to my backyard, that means I'm irresponsible?
Oh, so l'chara, that's a shmira if you have a fence, no?
Isn't that the answer of the Gemara?
Well, but shashimar gachalta is the question is how you
With a fence.
I mean, okay, yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure if that was W was asking. This answers that.
I have to make a fence in my. What do I have to make a fence in my yard for?
Oh, very good. So that's gonna be Talmud base for that, Rabban. That's not so posh. It's really not so posh that you mechuyev to. I gotta make a fence, right? Okay, we're gonna see. But anyway, so it's talking about where he did make a fence. So Mamela, yeah. So Taisus actually asks, what kind of shmira is a fence? Right, the dog can dig under the fence and get in. So Taisus says that it's not. It's Taisus really sounds like he was saying a chanami, right? The Taisus b'shashimar gachalta, second Taisus in the middle of the wide lines in the Taisus. But he says you're not mechuyev. You got to make a fence that humans can't get in. To make a fence. To make a guy have such a tircha to build a fence that dogs have to get in, you're not mechuyev to do. Anyway, so it's talking about where he was shomer his gachel, so he's potter. So Gemara asks, okay, so if you built a good enough shmira, so how'd the dog get there? So he said, b'shechotar, the dog dug it under, right? So so that's why the owner of the coal is not chayiv. So Amar Amari Breder of Kana Zoysemeres. A regular door is considered a dog. It's normal for a dog to get under there and get the coal. Right? So now, then the obvious question on that is, so if it's a normal thing, if it's normal for a dog to get under there, right? You have to say it's normal, otherwise you wouldn't pay nezek shalim. That's what the Gemara is saying. He has to pay nezek shalim on the dog eating the coal, right? So you'd have to say that it's normal, and it's a memela. It's also a tam, right? Because if it's abnormal, maybe it wouldn't even be tam. Yeah, but then Taisus asks, well, if that's the case, then I think Taisus asked that. No, was it Taisus?
Never a shmira then.
Right, then you didn't.
You have to make a barbecue in your house. That's it. You have to make it in your house.
Right. So correct. So what kind of shmira is that? right? If it's considered normal for a dog to get in, yeah. So okay, that's really the Taisus before. I thought it was something. Maybe I'm mixing it up with somebody else. But anyways, he says that's still considered a shmira because you're not mechuyev to make a shmira enough that the dog can't get in, which is very interesting. But okay. So I'm ask the achla heicha. Right? Where did he eat this? Where did he eat this cake that had the coals on it? If he ate it on somebody else's pile of grain, right? We know that when you chayiv for Shane, right? Shane and Regal have to be in somebody else's field, and you don't have that here, right? Because it has to be in the property that belongs to the guy it was stolen from. So we say, okay, it's talking about taka where he didn't eat it in somebody else's field. He went into the guy's field, he dug under the fence, the dog. He got the coal, put it down on the guy's grain, burned down the grain, ate the coal. So then that's Shane in somebody else's property. Fine. Now the Gemara goes with a whole different thing. Tifshoit, the pi para. Let's say pshat that the mouth of a para on Tamid Beis now is nizik tami, is considered like the chatzar of the guy that got damaged. Meaning, who owns the mouth of the animal? Right? You think, okay, it's the owner of the dog or the owner of the shor's mouth. So how can you ever be mechayiv somebody for Shane for destroying something? Let's say he ate the guy's fruit. If the animal's mouth is considered the property of the mazik, then we said bir b'stei acher. You have to be able to burn in somebody else's field, and it's not. It's in the animal's mouth. It belongs to the mazik. So it must be that a mouth is considered from the nizik, right? Again, kichatzar nizik dami on the top line on Chav Gimel Beis. I don't
understand. What's the Havamim to think that's a separate entity, connected?
Well, yeah, that's what you have to say. Yeah, you have to say that if the animal is in a nizik's yard, even though the damage is happening in the para's mouth, which really belongs to the mazik, still you have to look at it like it's in the field of the nizik, right? That's what the Gemara. We'll see it. The Gemara is going to go back and forth.
This is the same shaila as going to a chasna, right?
Going what?
By a chasna, who does the food belong to when it's in my mouth or before it gets to my mouth? This is the same idea.
I guess
it still
so.
belongs to the one who's making the chasna until I swallow, so I can't take anything home, things like that.
Well, it could be there's a kinyan when you pick it up. Okay, whatever it is. So right, if you say it's the mouth belongs to the mazik, so say, how did your cake get, or how did your fruit get into my shar's mouth? Right? Same way if a shar comes into my property and my shar kills the shar that came in, I'm not chayiv, because who asked your shar to come into my property? So the same thing. Who asked you to put your fruit into my animal's mouth? Right? Which obviously it got in there because the animal ate it. Right? But that's how you have to say. Right? So one answer says the boilahu, because there's a shaila. Pipara kachatzer and izik dami kachatzer and mazik dami. We have a shaila. Is the mouth considered like the chatzer and izik or the chatzer and mazik? The amar chatzer and mazik dami. And if you say it's like the chatzer and mazik, Shane the chayiv rachmana heichi mishkachas. How do you ever have the chiv of Shane now? Right? If you say that the mouth belongs to the mazik, how do you ever have a chiv of Shane? So the only way you're going to have Shane is if the animal scratches itself for its own benefit on the wall, and then breaks the wall, or betanfa peiros la'anosa, or she made peiros dirty, like animals like rolling in the fruit. She made them dirty. He made them. Whoever made it dirty, right? and therefore it was anosa. And Ochanami, according to this Gemara's Torah, it's very interesting. Shane, right? Shane, the damage of Shane can't be done by teeth, right? Right? It can only be done with
Until
the
this
side,
became the Av.
sort of, right? Yeah. Fine. So then Maskala Mazuchava, Be'inun Kasha Yivara Golala Tuma Ivileko. In order to be chayiv for Shane, it has to be totally done. It has to be totally broken. Right? So here it's not. So Ravina Omar, the Shav Talmud, it's talking about where there were pictures on the wall and it rubbed against them, and therefore it rubbed out the pictures, so the pictures were totally gone.
So if the damage is half the field or half the wall, then it's not chayiv because it has to be complete damage.
Huh? Yeah.
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 Okay.
It's a sounds strange.
What happens if he ate half the banana?
Sounds like it wouldn't be an issue. You can't pay. And I can't pay. I mean, you can pay whatever you want. I don't think you could pay. Right?
You're not chayiv.
You're not chayiv, yeah.
If he ate half the banana, he's not chayiv?
But it seems it has to be on tumai. Until
he ate half.
Eating's out right now. Eating is out right now.
But we're not even talking about eating. We said eating doesn't work with Shane at all. So that's the truth. You can't even say, "Yo, see, smashed a half a banana." That's what you say.
Yeah.
Totally as long as Lai Mechal Yakarna, it's not a beer b'stayah, it's not a beer.
It has to be totally consumed, as they say. Yeah. You need a lot of emunah. You need a lot of emunah and betachan for this. I mean, you need a lot of emunah and betachan for a lot of learning, but this for sure. You need to trust the Torah that these are like it makes sense to us, right?
You playing off Rashi? Pasu emunim?
No. No. But yeah. Anyways, so Ravina Amar the Shav Talmud, it's somewhere where he rubbed up against the picture, so he totally destroyed the picture. He totally destroyed the wall, but he totally destroyed the picture. Ravashi Amar the Pasi Psui, somewhere where he stepped on it. Rashi says he rolled in the fruits and he totally destroyed the fruits. So yes, Naphtali, he didn't do a half a banana. He did a full banana. Fine. Now we get into another very interesting case. Yeah, Toshima. So Shisa Bayas a Kelev, Shisa Bayas a Nochash Potter. I think the word would be to sick it. He sicked the dog onto somebody, or he sicked the snake onto somebody. I mean, it's not your snake, it's not your dog, but you went over to it and you got it excited to go run after somebody. So Potter. Right, so he's Potter, man Potter. So what do you mean? Who's the one that's not Potter? Meshasa Potter, the one who sent it out, who sicked it, is Potter. The Chayiv Bala Kelev, and the Bala Kelev is Chayiv. Right now, Rashi says, why is the guy who got it all excited Potter? Because it's a grama. Right. Fine. So the Baal is, so therefore the owner is Chayiv. If you say the mouth of the snake and the mouth of the dog belong to the mazik, my boy yada, the cowboy. What is your hand doing in the dog's mouth? Right? So the Gemara says, Ema potter af meshasa. It doesn't mean that the meshasa is potter, and the owner of the animal is chayiv, the animals is chayiv. No. It's even the Meshas's potter, meaning the animal owners for sure are potter because the mouth belongs to the mazik.
So nobody's chayiv here.
Nobody's chayiv. Correct. According to this, nobody is chayiv. Piba isema. The afke lenive besarte. Talking about where he pulled out the teeth, and then he hit what either hit or made it bite. Meaning what he did is like he took buck teeth, sort of. So, and then he damaged that way. So therefore, the thing never went into the mouth. Since it never went into the mouth, it did. You can't say it's a chatzar hamazik. So that's why, in that case, then the owner is chayiv. Fine. So in Toshima, hishuk bayas hanochosh. If he went and he took the snake, right? So the snake has teeth, and he took the teeth and he stuck it into the person. So now this is a little different, because here he's actually using the snake as a weapon, right? So Yehuda mechayev, v'chachamim pater. Yehuda says a chayev, and the chachamim say is pater. V'amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, kishatim tzalom l'divrei Yehuda eres nachash ben shina hu aimed. If you say according to Rav Yehuda that the venom of the snake is in between the teeth, right, which means that by putting the teeth into the guy's skin, he is the one that's causing the damage. So therefore, right, lefikach makish b'sayif and nachash pater. The one who hit the guy with the snake is going to be chayim misa, and the snake didn't do anything, so the snake is pater. Right? Obviously, a snake is not going to be chayiv things. I mean, the question is the snake going to be meaning it's a muad, right? It killed somebody, so you have to kill it. That's again. The guy took the fangs of the snake, stuck it into somebody, and the guy died. So if you say that the venom is in between the teeth, so then when the guy stuck it in, so therefore the guy that stuck it in is chayav misa, and the snake is potter. According to the chachamim, eres nachash me'atzmoi maki, the venom from the teeth from the snake goes out by itself. Then lefikach nachash b'skila makish potter. So then who did the killing? The snake, because who asked the snake to let out the venom? Right? The snake put out the venom himself. Yes, the human put the snake onto the body of the person, but if the snake wouldn't have let out the venom, then the guy wouldn't have died. I mean, he would have a cut or something, I'm assuming. He wouldn't have died. So the snake did it. So the snake is the one that's chayav and the person's potter. Fine. So the v'yamar pi parok k'chotzer ha'mazik. Tell me, but if you say that the mouth is like the chotzer of the mazik, what is your hand doing in the mouth of my snake? Right? So must be that we don't say this rule. So the Gemara says, "Le'inyan ketala lo yamrinan." By misa, we don't say this rule. Meaning, normally we would say the rule that the mouth of the animal is considered the owner's. But when it comes to killing, we're going to kill the animal because he did this. Right? Meaning, we're still going to be mechayev misa to the animal because it's a danger. Right? Meaning, so comes out, it's going to be split. You're going to be potted from doing the damage, but the animal is going to be chayev. Will we not tamer? How do we know to say such a rule? The Tanya nichnas l'chatzer balabayis shalei b'reshus. A guy goes into a chatzer of a balabayis without any permission. And then the shor of the balabayis gores him, and then he dies. Right? So hashor b'skila u'bayla b'turim min kaiver. The shor gets skila because it killed the human, but the owner's potted from kaifer. Right? Why? Bayla b'turim and a kaifer my time. Well, what's the reason? Damar labor shusi my buzz. What was your shor doing in my reshus? I'm not responsible for my shor on my own property. So if that's the case, the shor inami lame my buzz b'shusi. Why don't you say the same thing by a shor? Why should the shor be chayiv misa? Let him say, what's your shor doing in my reshus? That my shor gored your shor. Ella linyan kitala lamrin. It must be that we don't say this rule by misa, right? So therefore, when somebody's animal comes into my reshus and my animal kills that animal, because of danger of animals, we're going to have to kill the animal. But you're going to be potter from damages. So you see that the difference between damages and misa. You're going to have to kill the animal, but for, I guess, legal reasons, based on psukim, you're going to be potter. Okay, so then the Gemara says a couple of stories here. Hanu easy the Beit Tarbu. There was these goats of Beit Tarbu. That was the name of a family. Rashi says the Habamafsta Dilela Rav Yosef. They were stealing from Rav Yosef. They were damaging Rav Yosef's land. Amalei Labaya. So he said, Zil go tell the owners that they have to keep their tznius. They have to keep the animals away. They're damaging my property. Right? Standard neighbor's issue. The neighbor's animals are coming and stealing from the neighbor. So the neighbor says, go make sure you keep your animals away. Amalei Amai Ezel. So Abaye said, why am I going there? Dia Zilna, if I go, I'm really ligdormar. Why don't you just build a fence, right? Rabban, this is what you're saying before. Abaye is saying, they're just going to tell me, why don't you build a fence? Right? So Tosfos says, Rabbi didn't really have a havamina that would be a chiyuv. I'm not mechuyev to build a fence to make sure somebody else's animals don't come on the property. Right? He's just saying, Abaye was just trying to push it off. He didn't like this errand from Rabbi Yosef. He wasn't, I don't know why, I'm assuming I understand why he didn't want it, but he didn't really mean that it's going to be our achraya, the guy's achrayas, to make sure he has to build his own fence to keep people out. Anyway, so v'igadar shein t'chay rachmana hechi mishkachas la. So, but if you're mechuyev to put a fence, so then how you ever finding shein, right? Yeah, meaning, how do you ever have it where somebody goes and damages in somebody else's yard? You should have put up a fence, right? We said shein can only take place in somebody else's yard. Doesn't work in Rosh Hashanah. Doesn't work in Rosh Hashanah Mazik. So the only time you have shein is if an animal goes into somebody else's yard and eats from his food. But if the guy's mechuyev to put up a fence, so then how you ever having shein? So Gemara answers kishachotra, like it said on Manalav. It's talking about where there was a fence and your animal dug under the fence. Or it's talking about where the fence fell down in the middle of the night. I mean, the guy had a fence, fell down in the middle of the night. So Mamela, it's not. The animal got in there. If the animal gets in there, he's going to be chayiv. Right? So it sounds like according to this Gemara, there might be a reason that you do have to have a fence. Right? But that's not what we go with. We don't pass like that anyways. Fine. One last story. Machruz Rabbi Yosef became a rabba. Either Rabbi Yosef called out or Rabba called out. The Salkin La'ela or the Nasan L'Tata. Whoever goes up La'ela means up to Eretz Yisrael. Salkin means go up La'ela to the higher place, which means go up Eretz Yisrael. Udanachtin L'Tata. Whenever it goes down to Chutz La'aretz, which is considered lower. Hani easy to shuka the mafsidi. If you have these goats that are going to be by the shuk, meaning they're going to be shechted on the shuk day, on the meat day, and they cause people losses. Masrina b'marayu, Trey tosses him. And what you do is you give hasra to the owners 2 or 3 times to watch their goats. I guess these goats know that it's the end of their life, so they misbehave. So Rabbi Yosef or Rav is saying to the people, watch your goats. You tell it to them 2, 3 times. Eat tzayis, tzayis. If they listen, they listen. V'loi, amrin le tiv amaschata v'kabel zuzah. He says, sit down on the place where they shecht and take your money, which means basically the reason why they're waiting for the Yom HaShuk is because that's when they're going to get more money. There's going to be more demand, and Mamela, they'll get a higher price. So they're waiting around with their goats for 2, 3 days. But if these goats are running wild and you can't control them, then he says you can rightfully go shech these goats. Obviously, you don't get to keep the money, and you give the money to the owners, but the owners are going to lose out because the owners are going to say, hey, why did you shech our goat before the Yom HaShuk? Right? And they're going to answer because they're damaging, and they could have no taina. They could have no taina. So even though the owners are going to lose out, since their goats were doing all sorts of damage, so therefore they are going to be, they're not chayiv, but they're going to have to be sold at a cheaper price, and the owner can't say anything. All right. We will stop there, and let's say some tillim.